Hello, my name is Lindsay Weirich, and today I'm going to show you how you can make colorful texture rubbings using Derwent Inktense blocks. It's very much like the crayon rubbings you might have done as a child in school, but Inktense is water reactive, so you'll be able to do a lot of other techniques along the way. Now you want to start off by finding some interesting textures. I've got a rubbing plate here that I think I picked up at the Dollar Tree, and all you need to do is rub the block on its edge. Now a lot of times this technique's going to work better if you have broken blocks. So don't fret over any broken blocks. You can use any texture you want, like this piece of found metal screening. Look around your home and see what you have. You can even do rubbings on plaques or gravestones. Now let's try a multicolor rubbing. I have this thing, I think it was a piece of plastic packaging, I'm not even sure, but it had a really cool, like, circular raised design on it. And I picked up a few of the bright tones from the Derwent Inktense set of 12 blocks. And I'm starting off by rubbing some red. Now I'm going to go in with some orange. Now when you're looking at your Inktense blocks, you may notice that they bow ever so slightly in one direction. So you want that bowed, that convex part, that's what you want to rub with, especially if you're using a whole stick. Now I'm just kind of scooching it over as I go to the next color in the rainbow, letting these circles overlap. I'm going for kind of a funky rainbow design here. What I really love about this technique is that you don't have to find something that's big enough to cover your paper. You could find something small and just keep moving your paper around, adding new colors and creating a beautiful rainbow design like this. Legos would be really fun to do this with. Any sort of toys that have like an embossed pattern on them would work great. Just be creative and try what you have. Now, since these are water reactive, I can take a spray bottle and spritz down my design and look at the color just kind of come to life and perk right up. You could even use your fingers to go in and smudge around some of the colors if you wanted to. The sky's the limit with this. I really hope you give it a try. If you're a card maker like me, you probably have a bunch of embossing folders lying around. This time I'm going to tape my paper to my embossing folder with the positive side up and just use some analogous colors. Now those are colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. I like to call them color friends because it's easy to remember. And I like to use colors like this because they will not make mud if they get mixed together. So I'm going to finish up my pattern here by doing yellow, orange, red, and magenta color here on this edge. And then I'm going to use a water brush to just color some of the stars. So I'm just going to be doing kind of like a select pattern here. And I think that just looks fantastic. You get some of the, rough, grungy texture of just the rubbings. And then you get some smooth, refined texture of where you've painted them in. You could even further set the ink by spritzing it with water to help activate that Inktense. But I think it's a wonderful technique and would be a great card background or even on a scrapbook page or bookmark or really whatever you feel like. This last technique I want to share with you is a texture rubbing wax resist, which thankfully is easier to do than it is to say. You're going to start by rubbing a piece of canning wax or a candle or a white or light colored crayon over your paper that's on top of a texture panel. I'm using an embossing folder that had a bubbly design. Then you're simply going to brush over some of the Derwent Inktense blocks using a flat brush. I'm using a flat Derwent water brush. You want to make sure you don't agitate the paper too much. Now with your texture rubbings, you're going to want to have a paper that's thin enough to capture the texture, the design, but it's going to be thick enough to also take some watercolor techniques like we're using with our Inktense blocks and the water. So I'm using a drawing paper. This is the Blick Sulfite drawing paper because I feel like it's thick enough to handle the water, but it's thin enough to get a texture. So because of this, you don't want to go scrubbing or rubbing too much with the brush or you could end up damaging the paper. And really that's all there is to it. It's a lot of fun and you can use any color wax crayon you want to, you'll just get a different result. Make sure the color you brush on top will give you enough contrast to the wax in order to make it really show up and be beautiful. I hope you give these techniques a try for backgrounds in cards or maybe even just to add some interest in your collage or your painting work. Thank you so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up before you go. Until next time, happy crafting.